Good evening from the National Weather Service office in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I'm meteorologist Donald Jones with your 7 p.m. update on the winter storm that is beginning to start across the region. We've already received some reports this evening over the last couple of hours of some sleet and snow flurries across parts of southeast Texas. Even some what we call lake effect sleet and or snow up around the Toledo Bend area was being observed on radar a short time ago. That's certainly not something that's very common around here. That's more akin to the Great Lakes region, but it did happen briefly. We may continue to see a little bit of that lake effect sleet and or snow as we go through the night into tomorrow. The rest of the region is still expected to see significant amount of snow as we go through the night and tomorrow. Don't worry if you haven't seen any out there yet. We are in the very early stages of this event. The vast majority of the snowfall is still not going to occur until probably after midnight tonight, but we are starting to see a few snow flurries at least across parts of southeast Texas this evening. I'm going to start off real quick before we jump into our briefing, just taking a quick look at the radar out there. I'll go ahead and put this into motion so you can see there is some very light precipitation. The thing about snow is that it doesn't show up too readily on radar because it's not quite as densely packed as, say, rain droplets would be. So you're seeing these light returns here, and it's bouncing back and forth. There's not a whole lot there yet on this radar because I just pulled it up. But essentially what you're looking at here is just some very, very light on and off snow flurries. This is very light. It's not going to result in any accumulations at this point. But it is falling as either sleet or snow flurries across southeast Texas. You see it really hasn't made its way into any parts of Louisiana yet, maybe extreme western Vernon Parish with a few snow flurries, but that's about it. And not everything on here at the moment is snow return. Some of this is false return, not actually making it to the ground. But there have been some reports of some snow flurries across southeast Texas, and we expect that to increase as we go through the evening this evening. So we're going to talk about, I've got the latest snowfall totals. They have come up a little bit across parts of the area, generally along the I-10 corridor. Further to the north, it's looking like a little bit less in terms of overall snow. I think everybody across the area is going to see some amount of snow, but not everyone is going to see 6, 8, 10 inches of snow. That's going to be confined to a narrower swath. So I think parts of central Louisiana, you're going to be looking at slightly less snow. Further to the south, ironically, is potentially going to see more snow. So we'll take a look at that here. We're also going to talk about the extreme cold that we're expecting through the rest of the week as well. That is dangerously cold conditions across the area. As always, this is a live interactive briefing. So if you have any questions as we go through our briefing, feel free to post them in our comment section, and I'll answer them just as soon as we wrap up our briefing here. I want to start off the briefing by showing you this is actually our snowboard that we set up earlier today here at the Weather Service in Lake Charles. Now, this is a relatively gigantic one compared to what we would hope that a couple of you can put out there. But this kind of gives you an example of what a snowboard looks like. It's essentially just a piece of wood, I actually put the top of a styrofoam ice chest out in my yard for my snowboard, and that works just as well. Essentially something just to get it off the grass is what you're looking for, because when you take a snow measurement and you put your ruler down into the grass, you're also measuring the grass because the snow is going to sit on top of the grass. Blade length of the grass, however long that is in your yard, we don't want to count that in the measurement. So if you stick it all the way down to the ground, you're counting that blade of grass too. So we want to set up something level to catch the snow just off the surface of the ground, and then you'll put your ruler into that to actually measure the snowfall. So this is our example, but you can use anything that preferably white. You notice we painted this white because that actually helps reflect and it doesn't absorb the sunlight. But anything to catch snowfall that's flat and level just off the surface will suffice for a snowboard. So we hope you do put out a snowboard and send us in those measurements. Even if you don't put out a snowboard, still please send us in any measurements you get of the snow. Being as this is going to be a relatively historic event, we want to have a good representation of how much snow fell in each area. And the more samples we can get, the more observations we can get, the better we can put together those forecast maps and describe what actually happened in the after effects of this event later this week and for posterity's sake going forward. All right, now that that's done, let's go ahead and jump into the rest of our briefing. Again, we are expecting temperatures to plummet now that the sun has gone down. We've dropped back. We barely got out of the 30s across most of the area. We're going to drop back into the low to mid 20s tonight, well below freezing for many, many hours. And we're probably from this point forward, once we drop below freezing, which we're doing now or will do within the next couple of hours, we are not going to rise above freezing again, most likely until sometime Thursday afternoon. So we're looking at a long duration below freezing temperature period, which is going to be a threat to pipes, as well as anyone that's exposed outdoors for long periods of time, animals that are exposed for long periods of time outdoors, and of course, any vegetation that is susceptible to being frozen is going to freeze if left outdoors. Our snowfall totals right now, we're still anticipating anywhere between 2 to 7 inches. 10 inches in a few locations is not out of the realm of possibility. Now, not everybody is going to see 10 inches of snow, but a few locations may see up to 10 inches of snow as we go through this event here tonight and tomorrow. Again, we are going to remain below freezing likely until Thursday afternoon. So any snow that falls is going to stay on the ground until Thursday afternoon. We're not expecting any melting to occur during the day tomorrow. We're not expecting any melting tomorrow night. We're not expecting any melting at all on Wednesday. It's not going to be until Thursday afternoon where we start to see this snow melt off. I think some of it will melt off Thursday afternoon, but then we're going to drop back below freezing Thursday night. So whatever is still there is going to refreeze as an ice layer Thursday night into Friday morning. Then I think the vast majority of the snow, whatever is left of it, will melt off as we go through the day Friday. There may be a few areas, if you have a lot of snow accumulation in a shady spot, that might make it to Saturday, but I think the majority of the snow is going to melt off by Friday. We do still have winter storm warnings in effect across the region. This is essentially anytime we're expecting significant impacts from snow accumulations. We have this winter storm product, winter storm warning, and we're not going to be too far away, and I mentioned this earlier, from the possibility of a blizzard warning needing to be issued sometime early tomorrow morning. To have a blizzard conditions, we need 35 plus mile per hour wind gusts, as well as heavy snow that's reducing visibilities to a quarter mile or less. And we're going to be close to that in some locations. At least that's what the forecast is indicating. So I'm not saying that there will be a blizzard across parts of the area, but we're going to be getting close to those criteria. And we'll have to see if we actually reach those criteria. If those criteria are reached, then we will issue a blizzard warning from here at the office. So it's pretty unusual. I'd say this is the first time, certainly in my career, that I've discussed having a potential blizzard here in Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana, but we're going to be pretty close to that as we go through the morning tomorrow morning. Cold weather advisory remains in effect for tonight. As we're talking about, obviously, we're near or dropping below freezing as we speak. We're going to remain below freezing all day tomorrow, all day Wednesday, and through the first half of the day on Thursday. So it is going to be very, very cold out there. Cold advisories are issued when we're expecting temperatures or wind chills below 20 degrees, and that is where we're going to be for the next couple of days. We also have what's called an extreme cold weather watch and or warning. This will be upgraded to a warning probably later on tonight. This is issued when we're expecting temperatures to drop to 10 degrees or lower. And we're expecting that across, we're expecting at least wind chills to get below 10 degrees by tomorrow night into Wednesday. That's going to be our coldest night of the week, is essentially going to be tomorrow night after we have that snow on the ground. That's going to help make it even colder. Tomorrow night into Wednesday, those are going to be our coldest temperatures of the week, and I'll have those for you here in detail in just a second. We also have a gale warning in effect. We are expecting strong winds to develop as this area of low pressure that's bringing the snow moves up the Gulf Coast. It's going to increase the pressure gradient. That's going to increase the wind speeds. That's why we're going to potentially be looking at wind gusts close to blizzard conditions. The same thing's going to be happening offshore. We're going to be looking at those gale warnings, gale force conditions. That's 35 to up to 45 knot gusts. So you do not want to be out on the water in a boat, especially a small boat, anytime tonight or tomorrow. This is a look at our latest forecast snow accumulations. I'll go ahead and make this full screen so you can get a nice, good look at it there. You can see the numbers have increased somewhat, especially along and east of the Lake Charles area along the I-10 corridor. We're looking at the potential for 6 to 8 inches of snow. And again, 10 inches of snow is not out of the realm of possibility for some areas. Not everybody is going to see this much, but some areas will see potentially up to 10 inches of snow. And that's going to be more likely say over towards the Lafayette, Jennings area, maybe even down towards the New Iberia area, and then further east across over towards the Baton Rouge area, expected to see significant snowfall accumulations. Again, when we're talking about snowfall accumulations of this level, we are talking the possibility of the heavy weight resulting in some power outages. You know, the weight builds up on tree branches, and then eventually snaps those tree branches onto power lines. That could cause some power outages. The extreme cold that we're talking about will also have the potential to stress the electrical grid. That could also result in some power outages. So we've been stressing it for the last couple of days to have an alternative source of heat in the event that you do lose power, because I think some areas are going to lose power. Not everybody is, but some areas are going to lose power with this event. Additionally, we're a little bit concerned about the weight on roofs, potentially causing roof collapses. Now, again, this is probably not going to happen for most people, but areas that see those 8, 10 plus inches of snow, we're talking about a lot of added weight on top of roofs, especially flat roofs, mobile homes, trailers. Those aren't capable of holding hundreds or thousands of pounds of water, and those could potentially collapse in an extremely high snow accumulation event. So something to kind of keep in mind with that. Obviously, vehicle travel is going to become very difficult and hazardous. I do expect that there will be road closures across the regions. That's going to start with bridges and overpasses. They're the first to freeze up and freeze over. So those would be the first that'll be subject to being closed. But additional roads will potentially have or potentially freeze over or ice over as we go through the day on Tuesday and these snow accumulations begin to pile up. Coming into the office here this evening, I actually passed over a couple of small bridges and noticed that they have been sanded. So DOTD and city officials and area officials have been out sanding, salting, pre-treating roads, and especially those bridges and overpasses to try to keep them open as long as possible. But even so, they may still wind up icing over or freezing over and be subject to closure at some point. That may keep them open a little longer, but they still may eventually wind up closing before it's all said and done. Come back. So here's a look at the timing of the expected snowfall. Obviously, we're already seeing a few flurries and sleet pellets out there across parts of southeast Texas early this evening. We expect that low end, just very light, very isolated stuff to continue through the evening. You can see the probabilities of precipitation really pick up after midnight, and really at this point it's more like after 2 a.m. So roughly about 2 a.m. to noon, 1 p.m. in the afternoon for southwest Louisiana. That's when the majority of the activity is going to fall. So this is going to be essentially a morning type of event for us. Probably 95% of any snow we're going to see is going to fall between about 2 a.m. and noontime. Down across parts of south central Louisiana, you see the Franklin Morgan City column there actually extends out a little bit further. Being south central Louisiana, you're going to continue to see it a little bit later because the storm is going to be moving essentially from west to east across the Gulf Coast. And so southeast Texas, obviously, you're seeing a few flurries out there now. You're going to see these values a little bit earlier. And then south central Louisiana further to the east, and then southeast Louisiana even further to the east than that. You're going to see this a little bit later in the morning and into the afternoon. Let's look at our southeast Texas cities and the timing for that. Again, the probabilities are a little bit higher for this evening time frame, and we are starting to see some light flurries out there already. Still, the vast majority of the activity is going to be essentially from midnight through about 9 or 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then your activity will end a little bit earlier in the day on Tuesday as that low pressure moves off to the east. So for southeast Texas counties and cities, you're going to be looking at the majority of your snowfall between about midnight and 10 or 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is a look at our latest probabilities. So this is the probability of areas seeing more than 2 inches of snowfall. You can see essentially along and south of the I-10 corridor, you're very close to 100% chance of seeing more than 2 inches of snow. Up across central Louisiana, you can see there's a sharp delineation between the highest probabilities and where it gets very, very low and close to zero. Up towards the Alexandria area, we're looking at about a 40 to 70% chance of seeing more than 2 inches of snow. But there is going to be a pretty sharp gradient there between areas that see a lot of snow and areas that don't see a whole lot of snow. And it's going to be somewhere across central Louisiana where that line is going to be drawn. Taking a look at the possibility for greater than 4 inches of snow. Again, we're looking at about a 70 to 90% chance along and south of the I-10 corridor of seeing more than 4 inches of snow. Up further to the north across central Louisiana, about a 40 to 60% chance of seeing more than 4 inches of snow. Up towards the Alexandria area, Fort Johnson, over towards Marksville, back into Jasper and Newton, and those areas. This is the probability of seeing more than 6 inches of snow. So we're looking at about a 60 to 80% chance along, and this is actually just to the north of the I-10 corridor. So I'm going to say, let's say south of Highway 190, 60 to 80% chance of seeing at least or more than 6 inches of snow. So that's a pretty high probability of seeing a significant amount of snowfall. 6 inches of snowfall, we haven't seen that around here probably in about 65 years. And so when we're talking about a 60 to 80% chance of seeing that, that is indeed pretty impressive. Further to the north, across central Louisiana, north of Highway 190, we're looking at about a 20 to 40% chance of seeing more than 6 inches of snow. This is the probability of seeing greater than 8 inches of snow. You can see we're still looking at about a 40 to 50% chance of seeing more than 8 inches of snow, primarily along and south of the I-10 corridor, looking about a 40 to 60% chance of seeing more than 6 inches, or 8 inches, that should say 8 inches, of snow across Iberia, St. Martin, and St. Mary, and about a 10 to 20% chance of seeing more than 8 inches of snow across parts of central Louisiana up towards the Alexandria, Fort Johnson area, and then over into Jasper and Newton counties in southeast Texas. This is the probabilities of seeing more than 10 inches of snow. And I said a few spots are likely to see 10 inches of snow or more. And you can see there's roughly about a 10 to 30% chance of seeing 10 inches of snow or more kind of along the I-10 corridor. There's a pretty big spike down actually in south central Louisiana, parts of St. Martin, St. Mary parishes. I'm not sure how valid that is. That may be a little bit high. But this is kind of lending some credence to the fact that we may see some higher, greater than 10 inches of snow in at least a couple of locations. Again, this is not going to be everywhere, but a few locations could potentially see 10 inches or more of snowfall here as we go through the morning tomorrow. The good news is that we are no longer expecting any appreciable freezing rain accumulation. I'm not ruling out the possibility of a few minutes worth of a freezing rain accumulation, but we're not expecting freezing rain accumulation that's going to cause any kind of significant impacts. It's mostly going to be either sleet or snow across the region. We are no longer expecting significant freezing rain across the area. The probabilities are near zero. Taking a look at our forecast lows as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning, you can see we're looking at low to mid 20s across a large part of the region, pretty much all the way to the coastline. We're still looking at mid 20s all the way down to Cameron and Morgan City. So it's going to be another very cold night. This is another drip your faucets type of night. I actually was emailing back and forth with the mayor of Lake Charles earlier this evening, and he wanted me to pass along and advocate that the drips should amount to roughly 1 to 2 gallons per hour. So it doesn't have to be a significant drip. The goal is to just have the water moving in the pipes. You don't need a strong stream or run it full blast to keep those pipes moving. Just a steady drip will usually be enough to keep the water moving in the pipes, and that'll keep them from freezing. There is significant concerns about loss of water pressure, especially in the major cities. So the less water you can drip through while still keeping your pipes from freezing, the better off. So again, 1 to 2 gallons per hour. I know that's hard to eyeball, but a strong drip rather than an actual steady stream is usually enough to that's about the level we're talking about. Taking a look at Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, this is going to be our coldest night of the week. We're going to be looking at temperatures in the 10 to 15 degree range across pretty much the entire area, lower 20s right along the immediate coastline. So, we're talking this is dangerously cold, especially in this part of the world where we don't necessarily have the type of clothing to withstand these temperatures easily. So we're looking at lower teens. It wouldn't surprise me if we actually see a few spots get down into single digits for actual temperatures. And then once we add in those wind chill values, remember, it's going to be pretty windy as we go through the day tomorrow and even into tomorrow evening. We're talking low single digits, possibly even 0 degrees by the time we add in those wind chill values. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we're still going to have snow on the ground at this point. So we're looking at mid to upper teens across most of the areas, still a hard freeze across the entire region, upper 20s right along the immediate coastline. But again, another very, very cold night. It'll be a couple of degrees warmer than Wednesday morning, but not by a whole lot. Thursday night into Friday morning, we're going to be looking at mid-20s across the region. So again, another hard freeze, although a few degrees warmer. I still expect there's going to be some snow on the ground at this point as well. We're probably going to get above freezing for at least a few hours Thursday afternoon, but it's not going to be long enough for all of the snow to melt. So I think we're going to be looking at snow through parts of the area, at least through Friday afternoon. This is look at kind of summarizing the temperatures throughout the rest of the week, you can see that very long duration period of cold temperatures from Monday evening through Thursday morning, at least kind of mid-morning. Then we are going to have about 6-8-ish hours above freezing Thursday afternoon. That's going to be the first opportunity this snow is going to have to melt off, and then we're going to drop below freezing Thursday night. Now, what's important to keep in mind about this is that as that snow begins to melt, it's going to turn into a liquid. And if it's still liquid when we drop below freezing, it's going to freeze again, and it's going to freeze as ice rather than snow. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, that what may start off as a nice fluffy snow after it's had an opportunity to melt and then refreeze is going to turn into a sheet of ice Thursday night into Friday morning. I think by Friday afternoon, we're going to spend more time above freezing, and the majority of the snow will have begun to melt off and should melt off by then, although we may not be completely done with the snow until sometime on Saturday. Same thing for our Southeast Texas cities. You can see the graphic there highlighting the long duration cold period, essentially from now through Thursday morning, late Thursday morning, and then that brief period above freezing Thursday afternoon, and then more time above freezing as we get into Friday. This is a look at the latest forecast wind gusts across the region. And again, we're kind of breezy already this evening. We're gusting to about 15 miles an hour, but these winds are going to increase further as we go through the day tomorrow. You can see wind gusts across, this is Southeast Texas, 25-ish mile per hour wind gusts. And then for our Southwest Louisiana parishes, we're looking at gusts close to 30 to 35 miles an hour. Again, the blizzard criteria is 35 miles per hour. So we're getting very close to that. We'll have to see how that actually pans out. Bottom line, though, is it's going to be windy while this snow is ongoing as well across the region. Now, when we add in those wind chill values, we're looking at tonight, we're looking at lower teens across most of the area, 10, 12 degrees for those feels-like temperatures. Tomorrow night, we're going to be down in the single digits across most of the area. You can see parts along the coast that are still looking at those strong winds in the low single digits, possibly down to as low as 0 for those feels-like temperatures Tuesday night into Wednesday. For Wednesday night into Thursday, we're back into the teens. The winds are going to come down on Wednesday, so the wind chill factor, the wind chill temperatures are going to be very close to the actual temperatures, with those winds much lighter for Wednesday night and Thursday. This graphic just shows a summary of that. Again, we're looking at long duration wind chills, kind of the same time period for the actual temperatures, obviously, but the numbers are going to be lower. We're going to be looking at quite a few hours of wind chill values in the teens and possibly single digits Tuesday night into Wednesday morning across the region. Finally, taking a look at the number of hours we're expected to be below freezing. Essentially, we're going to drop below freezing within the next couple of hours for areas that haven't yet. We're close to freezing now already here in the Lake Charles area, but we'll all pretty much fall below freezing within the next hour or two. And then we're expecting to remain below freezing for approximately 50 to 60 consecutive hours. Remember, we're not going to expect it to rise above freezing again until sometime Thursday afternoon. So from essentially now through Thursday afternoon, the area is going to remain below freezing. So pipes need to be protected, and any snow that falls is going to remain in place through at least Thursday afternoon. So that's what we have here from the National Weather Service. Again, we are going to do another one of these updates tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I don't have that here. It says Monday afternoon because I forgot to update it. But we are going to do at least one more of these tomorrow morning to provide an update on the ongoing conditions. We will expect to have snow ongoing across pretty much the entire area by that point. So we'll have an update for you with that again. So we'll plan on doing another one of these 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm going to answer your questions here for the next few minutes. So if you do have a question, feel free to post them in the comment section. If you don't have a question and you're fine and dandy and happy, you are welcome to head on out and watch the national championship game of college football that is on right now. I love you people. Otherwise, I'd be there watching that. But I'm here with you because I love you. And for that, you should be grateful. All right, let me back up here and see if we do have any questions. Bear with me just a moment while I read through some of the comments here. Madison says, I'm traveling south from Hattiesburg to Orange, Texas at the moment. Any advice? Well, you're going to be running through some increasing snow showers through the evening. but they should remain relatively sparse until after midnight. I don't expect there's going to be any road hazards this evening. Any kind of road hazard, and this goes for the entire area, not just Southeast Texas. Any road hazards are most likely early tomorrow morning, not tonight. If you're traveling this evening or tonight, you're probably going to be okay. Kodalyn says it's sleeting here right now a lot. Yep, we're going to have these. How they're going to happen? They're going to happen in bands. It's not going to be steady for the entire period. Just like with rain, we get rainstorms. They stop. They start again. They get heavier. They get lighter. Same thing happens with sleet and snow. So you're going to go through periods of heavier and lighter for both sleet and snow. Renee says, if you see me going down the street on a flamingo pool float, just remember we listen and we don't judge. Renee, I would never judge you. Pink flamingos are just as appropriate as any other means of preparedness and sledding and mode of transportation. I mean, really, you can get a lot of places with flamingos. Cookie Death asks, where do we report our snow pics to? You can report them to TV media outlets. You can report them to us here at the Weather Service. You can send us a message on Facebook. You can put it in any one of our comments on any one of our posts, or you can send us a direct message. You can email me directly if you want. My email is on your screen there. It's my name with a dot in the middle, donald.jones@noaa.gov. Those are good ways. You can send it to us as a message on X. You can hashtag us on X. I'm showing my age by being reluctant to say that. You can send us a message on Instagram. We have all of the social media profiles. So any one of those will be beneficial to get it to us. Of course, you can email us, or you can just call it in. Our number is also on your screen. Just let us know how much you have in terms of snowfall accumulation. Travis says, what day and time do you think will be best for building our snowmen? By tomorrow afternoon, the vast majority of the snow that is going to fall will have fallen, so you should have plenty of fodder for snowmen and snowball fights at that point. Ashley says, is the lakes area possibly going to get more than anticipated? Well, we're anticipating 4 to 6 inches. You can see the graphic on the screen there. So that's a fairly significant amount already. Could it get a little bit more than that? Yeah, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Again, I think we could see up to 10 inches in a few locations, and that could include the lakes area. I'm not saying that you're going to get that much, but it's a possibility. Danny's asking about the estimate on approximate stop time for snow and sleet. I've got here are our timing graphics. So again, we're looking at a few light. We're already seeing some ongoing sleet and snow across parts of Southeast Texas. We're going to see it really kind of ramp up after midnight and really kind of after 2 a.m. So between about 2 a.m. and noon is our most likely time frame right now for Southwest Louisiana. For Southeast Texas, maybe a couple of hours earlier. We'll be looking at it maybe by 11, 12 o'clock tonight, and then continuing through about 11-ish or noontime tomorrow. That's kind of our time frame. Rachel asked, so ice is only a concern on Thursday? Not necessarily. Especially when we're talking about the sleet early on here, that is ice. So that will have the potential to ice up roadways. I'm not ruling out the possibility of getting slightly above freezing Tuesday afternoon. So if that does happen, then ice is going to be a bigger concern. I don't think that's likely at this point, but it is a possibility. So yeah, no, ice is going to be a possibility essentially from the time the snow starts falling until we get it finally completely melted off. But so yeah, it's not just going to be on Thursday, excuse me. Jen asking, when is conditions going to start deteriorating tonight? We've got the timing right here on the screen. We just talked about that. For Southeast Texas, we're going to be looking at roughly between about 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. To really start ramping that up, and then continuing through about 11 a.m. For Southwest Louisiana. We're going to be looking at a little bit later because we're a little bit further to the east. So we're going to be looking at roughly probably 1 to 2 a.m. continuing through about noon or 1 p.m. during the afternoon. Eric says, could Friday morning be the most dangerous time to drive? That's going to depend on exactly what the temperatures do and how much snow. There's a lot of variables there, so I can't answer that with certainty. I think Friday morning may still potentially be dangerous, but we'll have to see. We'll just have to see how it goes. We're talking 4 days away, and there's a lot of uncertainty regarding exactly how much snow, exactly what the temperatures are going to be. But it's going to be hazardous to drive essentially from tomorrow through Wednesday through Thursday, and possibly into Friday morning. We'll see what that looks like. Amaya says the snow accumulation for Alexandria keeps getting lower and lower. Yeah, that's because the exact track of this area of low pressure that's bringing us all of this activity, combined with another frontal boundary that's actually going to be approaching from the northwest, is going to kind of limit how far north those snow showers are going to be able to get. Now, I do think you're going to see some in the Alexandria area, but right now we're looking at 1 to 2 inches expected for that area. Mary says we already just had a little snow in Westlake. I'm not surprised that we are starting to see a few snow flurries out there across western Louisiana. We're going to continue to see those kind of on and off through the evening, and then really kind of ramping up after midnight tonight. Beth says, any ideas for how much snow in Westlake and Moss Bluff? Again, we're looking at probably 4 to 6 inches is our forecast now, but you could see higher. You could see a little bit lower than that, but right now we're looking between about 4 and 6 inches. Diane says, was there some kind of system with moisture in the Gulf that's causing snow further south rather than north of us? Well, there's a low pressure system moving across the northern Gulf of Mexico. That's what's bringing all of this snow. It's not just a contributing factor. That is the factor. Yeah, that's what's bringing it. And there's also a boundary that's a frontal boundary that's going to be moving down from the north, and that's going to limit how far north this snow line is going to get. Chantel says, how will travel conditions be on Friday morning? Well, first off, I'm not a hoe. Don't call me a hoe. Second off, I'm just kidding. Travel conditions Friday morning are going to be highly dependent on how long we spend above freezing Thursday afternoon. If we spend a good bit of time above freezing Thursday afternoon, that should have any ice and or snow the time to melt off. But if we only spend a few hours Thursday afternoon, then we may be looking at continued ice on roadways through Friday morning. That kind of remains to be seen at this point. Dana asks, if power go out in Southeast Texas, how long will power be out? People going to be cold without power? I can't answer that question. There's, again, too many variables there. What causes the power outage? How quickly can electrical trucks get out there to make repairs? Can they even make repairs? Because Tuesday, again, we're going to be looking at very windy conditions. So we're going to be looking at those bucket trucks have criteria. They can't work in winds above a certain threshold. I'm not exactly sure what they are off the top of my head. But with gusts of 35 miles an hour, they may have to wait for those winds to come down before they can make repairs. So if you do lose power, especially if you lose power on Tuesday, be prepared to be without it for quite a while, several hours. But I can't tell you with any certainty what time the power would come back on. I can't tell you with certainty that you're going to lose power to begin with. Catherine says we have to drive to NOLA Thursday for surgery. Will I-10 be open? I can't say that for sure either. again, there's too many variables. The thing I can't tell you how long the power is going to be out. I can't tell you how long the roads are going to be closed. It's just going to depend on exactly how much snow and or ice falls, and what the exact temperatures are during that time. Whether the snow falls on a pine tree that knocks power out by falling onto a power line. These are all things that are way beyond my ability to predict. I'm not a deity. I don't know it all. Claudia says, can one be okay in a well-insulated house without power? Should we lose power with layers of clothing and lots of blankets? Yeah, you'll be fine. It's probably eventually going to get cool in your house. You may see, your inside of your house drop into the 60s or 50s. But yeah, with layers of clothing and blankets, you should be fine. There's not going to be a risk of hypothermia in your own house, as long as you have, blankets and such. Yeah, I don't think the power is going to be out long enough for that to be a concern, especially if you have good insulation. Ashley says, is Newton County possibly getting more than a ½ inch? Right now for Newton County, we're forecasting between 1 and 2 inches. Susan asks, is there a strong chance of power outage in Franklin and St. Mary Parish? I wouldn't say there's a strong chance. There is a chance. I don't know that it's a strong chance. There are going to be power outages. I'm certain of that. I don't expect them to be widespread. Not everybody is going to lose power. Power is not going to be out for days and days and days. In most cases, there may be a couple of individual places that are, but the majority of people will, probably be out of power for a few hours. But again, not everybody is going to lose power. A lot of people asking about roads and bridges. Again, I can't really speak intelligently to that. It's not that I'm ignoring your questions. I can't tell you exactly when roads or bridges are going to be closed and when they're going to potentially be reopened, because we have a lot of uncertainty there. Exactly how much snow or ice are we going to get? Have those roads or bridges been pre-treated? Are they going to be plowed and post-treated? I was talking to someone from the DOTD earlier today that said they're putting out pre-treatments, and they're going to have, there's actually plow down from Arkansas to help with snow plowing. So how quickly they can get that snow and ice off the roads, the sooner the better, obviously. But exactly how quickly they can do that is going to play a large role on how long roads would potentially be closed. So I can't answer that with any degree of certainty. I wish I could, but I can't. Dina's asking, when will the winds die down? The winds are going to die down Tuesday night. So we're going to be looking at these strong winds during the day Tuesday. But let me pull up the wind graphic here again. There it is. So again, we're going to be looking at pretty high winds through especially Tuesday morning. They're going to start to come down a little bit by Tuesday afternoon. You can see by Tuesday night after sunset, they're dropping back down to around 10 miles an hour or less. So the winds are going to be strong during the day Tuesday, but they will be coming back down by Tuesday evening. Ashley says, is the HRR model more accurate? It shows units at 1 inch, but this model says 6 to 8 inches. The HRR model changes every hour. It's updated once an hour, and the next one will probably be completely different. I advocate this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Never rely on a single model run for your forecast. That's why we have forecasts here, and we don't make our forecast based on one model. We make our forecast based on many models and many model runs. So never rely on a single model for a forecast, because a single model, none of them are accurate. Kathy's asking, will this be a wet or powder snow? This is going to probably be a wetter snow. We're expecting, we have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, so we expect this to be a wet snow. Sue asks, will the snow be actual snow like northern snow, or that wet stuff that turns to ice bricks? It is going to be a wet snow, but it's snow in the south, so it can't be a northern snow. I don't expect they're going to turn to ice bricks necessarily. I do expect that it's going to be something that you can make a snowman or a snowball out of. But at some point, yeah, it may very well harden into clumps. Do you prefer geo coordinates for snow reports? That's fine. That works for us. We can make that work. Ideally, just telling us where you're approximately you are is usually good enough. Town or city nearby, or say 2 miles east of such and such a place, that works. But if you want to give us geographic coordinates specifically, that's fine. We can work with that. Cookie Death asks, do you think areas that get higher snowfall, the snow will condense into more of an icy mix by Thursday afternoon or early Friday? Probably at some point, because we are going to get above freezing for a period of time Thursday afternoon, and then drop below freezing Thursday night. So the snow is likely to begin to melt and then refreeze Thursday evening into Thursday night. Brooklyn says it just started to sleet in Moss Bluff. Yep, we're starting to see it out there, and it's starting to spread to the east a little bit. Samara asks, which direction will the wind be primarily blowing from? I would think north wind, but it appears the storm is coming from the southwest. The storm is coming from the southwest, but the winds will be blowing northeast, yes. Let me pull my wind graphic back up here. There we go. You can see the arrows there. So we are going to be looking at a northeasterly wind for the most part, maybe switching more kind of northwesterly as the storm gets past us. But for this event, we're going to be looking at northeasterly winds pretty much the entire event. Joshua says, I know you mentioned that we will be sub-freezing throughout Wednesday, but the Weather Channel forecast for that day around DeRidder says around 40 and sunny. Is it possible for some melting on roads since they absorb heat than the soil? I don't expect that. No, we're forecasting temperatures to be right at or below freezing through the day. Maybe we get very slightly above freezing. We're not getting to 40 on Wednesday. That's not going to happen. David says, Donald, do you have a snow cone of uncertainty? Yes, I do, David. It's right there on your screen. Does it look like a snow cone? Not really. Maybe. This is our snow cone of uncertainty. This is how we do it. Brian says, I saw the hurricane hunters went out. Has any of their data come in yet? The hurricane hunters sent out a plane for a winter low pressure area? I didn't hear anything about that. James asks, what's the theme of this storm? Cold, snow, cold and snow, snow and cold? What other theme do you want? Tiffany says, with the temperature staying that low and not freezing, would it cause the repair trucks from being able to make repairs, or just the wind that would stop them? It's just going to be the wind. The cold is not necessarily going to stop them from making repairs. Dana asks, is this the last winter storm? I can't say that with any degree of certainty. We only forecast the weather out a week or so in advance. I can't tell you what's going to happen beyond that. Sandra's asking about snow amounts in Kinder. Right now, we're looking at about 2 to 3 inches, but you're kind of on that cusp between the 2 to 3 and the 4 to 6. So let's say 2 to possibly up to 6 inches. James asks, what's the weight limit on my pine trees holding ice and snow? That depends on the the diameter of your branch, what kind of shape your tree is in, if it's healthy or not. I'm not a botanist. I'm not an arborist, so I can't really say that with any degree of certainty either. Alex asks, will there be salt trucks out in Orange, if not already? I do know that they are pre-treating roads, both in Southeast Texas and Louisiana. I don't know specifically what roads they are treating, but yeah, they are out, and they will continue to be out treating roads through the event. Natalie says, y'all got a better chance of getting a correct answer from an 8-ball than asking for questions here that can't be answered. Well, I mean, again, I'm not a deity. I cannot answer every question. There are some things I don't know, and there's some things that can't be known. So I tell you what I know, and I got to tell you what I don't know. And there's a lot of things, admittedly, that I don't know. I'm not even that sharp of a dude. Jonathan wants to acknowledge the mutual aid that has come from other states to help keep roads. I've never seen this before. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we're getting some snow plows coming down from Arkansas, which is pretty impressive. They are, I believe, on their way as we speak. So they will be helping clear roads as quickly as possible. We'll see if that's going to be fast enough to keep most of the roadways open. Again, that's another thing that I can't really speak to. But we are very appreciative of surrounding states and municipalities that are sending resources to us in our desperate time of need, because we don't know how to deal with this stuff. So I'm sure they're sending not just equipment but also expertise in how to handle and clear the snow off of roadways. Teresa wants to know, will this finally kill all the mosquitoes? Mosquitoes are really resilient. It might kill this batch of mosquitoes, but you bet you me, they'll be back in the spring. Nick asked, do you monitor MPing and storm spotter reports for this stuff? Yes, we do. We've got actually a giant radar screen up in the middle of our operations area that the MPing reports show up on. So we do get those, we do see them, and we do take the observations based off of them. And they also get into our system. So we can use those for analysis as well. So yes, absolutely. Vicky says, I just looked out the window in Moss Bluff, and the road out front has sleet on it. Yep, we are starting to see, again, some of those sleet and snow flurries and ice beginning to move across Southeast Texas. Now it appears they're moving into parts of western Louisiana, judging by your reports here. What flavor is the snow cone of uncertainty? Asked Natalie. I don't know. What's your favorite? We can get some flavors out there. You just pick up a snowball, you put it on the cone, just like a snowball style. I mean, there's dozens of different flavors you can throw on there. I had a couple of myself. I think my favorite is sour grape. I know that's not exactly a very popular flavor, but I don't know. I like it for some reason. Jody asked, what about my pool if I lose power? Your pool may end up getting a very thin layer of ice on top of it. That wouldn't surprise me if it's not moving. In general, we've been saying that any non-moving water will start to freeze because we're going to be looking at this long duration period, 50 to 60 hours below freezing. My advice to you is if you lose power, well, my first advice to you is to run your pool filter until you lose power. That'll keep the lines from freezing. If you do lose power, you need to drain your filter lines to keep them from freezing. Otherwise, they will. As far as the water in the pool itself, you're just going to have to let it freeze unless you can drain it. But then you'll have ice and basically a layer of ice wherever you drain it out to. So you're probably best just keeping it where it is. Eric asks, will this affect Gulf water temperatures for hurricane season? No. I mean, it is going to affect Gulf water temperatures and cooling them off this week, but it's not going to have any kind of long-term effect as we get into next hurricane season. Bernie asks, should we be concerned about the weight of snow on roofs? Yes, we are. In fact, that's on right here on this slide right here. We are concerned about the possibility of the weight of snow on roofs leading to some roof failures, especially flat roofs and especially relatively weak roofs like mobile homes or trailers. How much snow and how much weight each individual roof is going to be able to take is based on the structure of your house. So I can't tell, again, that's another question that I can't answer in terms of will your roof collapse or not, because it's going to depend on exactly how much snow you get. It's going to depend on the exact snow to liquid water ratio, so the weight of that snow, and then it's going to depend on the structure of your house. But yes, that is going to be a concern, especially in areas that see some of those higher amounts, 8 to possibly 10 inches. Jennifer says the salt trucks were on 210 30 minutes ago. It's the slowest I've ever driven on that stretch, but I'm grateful. Yeah, absolutely be grateful for that, because at least you know that they're treating it. Amber asks, what's the best time to measure how much snow we get right after the snow stops? That is an option. You can do it one of two ways. You can either do it at the end, like you mentioned, when it's all said and done, or you can do it every so many hours if you want to kind of see how much it's accumulating. If you have one of those snowboards like we showed back at the beginning, I'll pull that back up just as an example. You can measure it, say, every 3 hours, every 6 hours, and then clear it off again. And then just whenever you go to measure again, you'll need to add those two numbers together. You can do it that way, or you can just do it once at the end. We're going to be below freezing long enough that we're not going to have to really worry about warming and melting off. So I think you'll be good to measure it anytime, say Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening. Thomas asks, is it snowing there now? Do you mean here at our Lake Charles office? Not last I checked, but I've been on here for almost an hour, so I haven't been able to run outside and look, but I don't think so, not yet. Brock says, my wife is excited to possibly get 10 inches tomorrow. Brock, shut up. Go home. We know what you're talking about. Go watch the football game. Gay asked, do you still have regular hours of work during these events, and are you on extended hours? Are you able to stay at your location and be safe? I work regular hours, and then I'm also on extended hours. I'm actually here right now on extended hours because I've been working night shifts this week. So I've been working midnight to 8 a.m., and I've been going home, getting a few hours of sleep, and then coming back in the evening to do another one of these briefings with you. So that's kind of what's worked for me so far. Fortunately, I'm not too far from the office here, so I should be able to get back and forth pretty safely. And I'm not going over any bridges or anything, but I'm hoping I'll be able to make it in. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of taking it one step at a time, too. Sarah wants to know, is hail possible? No, we're not expecting hail. We could possibly see sleet. You know, sleet is basically the baby version of hail. It's tiny little ice pellets. So in that respect, it could be tiny little baby hail. But hail in its typical form, no, we're not expecting, you know, quarter size, pea size, stuff like that. Any sleet pellets are going to be much smaller than that. Austin wants to know, am I able to get on the roof and blow the snow? I'm going to discourage that. I'm not saying that you couldn't do it, but I'm not sure that's going to be the best idea, getting up on a roof, potentially slipping and breaking your face in the middle of a snowstorm when you can't get to a hospital. I'm gonna say that's probably not a good idea. I would much rather take the risk, the very low risk of having a roof issue, as opposed to getting up there and potentially having you hurt yourself trying to blow snow off of a roof. So I would say no, that's not a good idea. Let's see. Dee says nothing happening in central Louisiana yet, and April says it's sleeting in Sulphur. So yeah, it's going to be hit and miss, and it's going to be stop and start for a while here. Now, not everybody's going to see it at once. We're going to see it in different times for different places, and we're going to see it in waves. It's not going to be all at once thing. You know, it's going to be kind of stop and start. Alex asks, is it safe to eat the snow? It's not going to kill you. Snow, just like rain, actually requires a tiny little piece of dirt or debris or something. It's called a condensation nuclei. It could be a little piece of salt. It could be a lot of different things, just a dust particle. Rain and snow is not necessarily clean per se, but it's not going to hurt you if you wanted to eat some. I eat snow all the time whenever I go on trips to places where it snows. I think it's fun, but no, it's not going to kill you. Yeah, you can eat the snow. Just don't eat it thinking that it's, you know, distilled water. Thomas says, what are the dew points for Starks, Louisiana tonight? They're in the teens right now, and I imagine they're probably going to drop back into the single digits overnight. So they're going to be very low. Ashley says, Donald, are you going to go sledding? I don't have a sled, for one thing, so I'm going to say probably not. Second off, I would need like a hill or something to sled down. We're out here at the airport. They actually did some construction a couple of years ago and kind of built a little hill out in the field across the way. I guess I could do that. I'd have to find something to sled on. Maybe I'd go find me a cardboard box. Don't give me any ideas. I'm going to wind up breaking myself, and then I won't be able to brief you anymore. Nikki says, I put some old litter boxes and blankets and towels and a lamp for the animals outside. If I wake up and have a possum or raccoon, I can't say I won't scream. Well, at least you'll know they're taking advantage of your hospitality. Elaine says, well, there goes me making snow cream. Oh, you don't like the little dirt and dust and debris particles in your snow? Austin says I can go sled at his house. Maybe I'll come over to your house, Austin. You got to push me down the hill.
Slide. It's going to mix you up.
Probably not. Okay. Sorry, someone came in here and was asking me a question. Leslie says, please say no to freezing rain. We're not expecting freezing rain at this point. We're looking at actually very low probabilities of freezing rain. Less than 5%, probably closer to 0%. This is our latest forecast for the probabilities of freezing rain. And you can see that's virtually zero across the area at this point. So it's going to be almost exclusively sleet and snow. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here for the time being. We'll be going just a little over an hour here, and I have finally reached the bottom of my my question list. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, we are going to do another briefing at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So be on the lookout for that. The snow and sleet, as we've already mentioned, is beginning across the region. It's going to continue to expand through the night. Really going to get going kind of after midnight tonight, and should be probably about halfway over, if not more than halfway over, by the time we get on for our briefing 7 o'clock this morning or tomorrow morning. So we should see some significant accumulations across parts of the region by that time. Final preparation should be made for snow. You want to get to your hunker down spot and then do not travel unless absolutely necessary. I do expect that there will be some road closures. I do expect that there will be some power outages at some point here as we go through the day tomorrow. So only travel if absolutely needed. Otherwise, just stay at home and make snow angels and snow balls and snow men and snow cones and snow cream and all the things that we never get to do around here because we don't see this very often. This is definitely going to be a historic event and a very memorable event across the region. So take some time and enjoy it. You know, there's plenty of safe ways to enjoy snow, plenty of fun ways that the rest of the country gets to experience that we don't usually get to do. So get out there and make some memories, especially if you have children. Everyone stay safe and dry and warm and wonderful this evening. Go finish watching the football game. It's on right now. I'm about to go check that out. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.